Every leader in Europe knows that independence requires strength, and that is no longer available. Thus, Europe is a continent that today cannot defend itself militarily, a continent whose competitiveness is decreasing, a continent that has demographic problems, a continent that is continuously destabilized by people flowing in from other civilizations and cannot get control over this situation. So, I think that Europe is simply not in a position to safely contemplate its own future without cooperation with the Americans. So common sense dictates cooperation for both us and the Americans. And now I would like to sleep if you allow me.
Thank you very much. Was there any tangible result? Wait, I'm suddenly trying to figure out the result that I saw here today. Well, we received a paper, a document, which I believe I am not authorized to disclose publicly. We'll see what will become of it, which is about the Ukrainians' demand for $800 billion was accepted. So there is a Ukrainian demand that the Union provide 800 billion euros over the next 10 years, and a document that says, okay, let it be so, and shows plans for how this money needs to be produced, which essentially means incurring debt. It splits into 500 and 300 billion as a first step, second step, and it also talks about a need for 700 billion in military spending beyond the 800 in the next 10 years. So one, I don't know if this is a result, but it was certainly a bombshell move, as we thought so far that the Ukrainians had such a demand, and the Union might try to possibly back out, or soften it, or reduce it, but no. Just as the demand came from Ukraine, it was entirely accepted. Why is it secret? There is a set of rules, so documents cannot just be to disclose them publicly. Everyone has their rightful way, and only they can dispose of it. But I suppose this will happen, because the staff of the 27 member states have received it, so it won't remain the 27 prime ministers' sweet secret. But this was not the main agenda item. This just fell from the sky. Rather, it was essentially the Peace Council. So what causes confusion here is how to relate it to a new body that admittedly was created because the old ones no longer work, yet there are problems in the world and someone needs to create peace. And this is the goal of establishing a new organization in which some were invited, some were not, and the whole union now doesn't know which leg to stand on. There were only two of us who understood, the Bulgarians and us, who said that this is a good goal. Indeed, the old organizations don't work, so let's try something new. The Americans are committed. They are leading the countries from crisis regions, from Saudi Arabia to Qatar, Turkey, Azerbaijan, the Caucasus countries. These countries came. There are two of us Europeans. Let's try. No one can guarantee that this will be successful, so the Americans have embarked on it with great momentum, and we feel that something could come out of it. This organization definitely has more chances for success and peace than the old ones, which have failed. Prime Minister, how was the debate about Greenland and the American connection? Were there significant differences among the leaders? About Greenland? Yes, there were definitely significant differences. Fortunately, this, or as the American president put it bluntly, that block of ice issue reached a resting point fairly quickly, as it is no longer pressing now, since they agreed that there will be no taxes, no tariffs, no military intervention, and everyone is interested in reducing the conflict, so they are trying to put out the fire, not heat it up. So this wasn't such a hot potato, such a hot issue anymore, as when this meeting was convened. But there were those who decidedly wanted to cooperate with America at all costs. To find common ground was one viewpoint, and there were those who said that if it happened once, it could happen tomorrow and the day after, and one must prepare for that. So the debate was very excitingly diverse, and it was useful, by the way. I think now the issue is far more consolidated than it was. We always saw that it's not a European issue, it's a NATO issue. So when two countries like the United States and your homeland are members of the same organization which is focusing on security, which means NATO, the proper field to manage the conflict and to negotiate and channelize the different opinions is basically NATO. So that's going on now. The Secretary General of NATO did a good job to consolidate the situation. The most significant stakes of the elections are in Ukraine, outside of Hungary, since this document I mentioned also states that Ukraine must join the European Union by 2027. So it's not just about the 800 billion or 700, but also talks about the accession date as well, and Hungary opposes this. So in my opinion, there won't be a parliament in Hungary in the next 100 years that would vote for the Ukrainians to join the European Union, and the Ukrainians think that the only way this can be done is to remove the obstacle named Hungary, if there is a pro-Ukrainian government in Hungary, and they are working on this. And then it is obvious in Hungary that we do not want them to join the Union. We oppose their government membership. It's clear even the DK wants to let them in. Therefore, we must acknowledge that the Ukrainians will play an active role in the Hungarian campaign because they have a fundamental interest in a change of government in Hungary. This does not make me happy. It is not a beautiful thing, even if it is understandable, but we will cope with it as well. So everyone agrees that if the Peace Council were only about Gaza, then almost every country in the European Union would have a place there. But since the Americans prepared this document, with our approval as well, it goes beyond that. And that's why it appears to be like a UN initiative in the making. This makes the matter suspicious for the locals, and they would like to participate in the settlement of Gaza. But they do not wish to partake in the creation of any other broader international organization. What do we think about this? We believe the Americans have spoken clearly yesterday and today as well. The first task is to consolidate Gaza. The second task is to make peace in Ukraine. Then the rest will follow. We believe this is a good approach. There is no consensus on this here. According to my calculations, we're already at 193, and on top of that comes this 90. They calculate that they will cover the years 26 and 27 with this 90. There will be a new budget in 28, the Hungarian government will be sidelined, and in the new budget, a lot of money will be given to Ukraine, and then no longer separately with loans, but Ukraine's financial support will be managed from the Union's budget. This is their plan. We want to prevent this, so we want a national government in Hungary that will not support Ukraine's accession and does not support such a budget that wants to send money to Ukraine. We are not against those who want to give money to Ukraine having the ability to do so, but why should the European Union be ruined for this? The European Union should deal with its own matters and the matters of the member states, and if someone wants to give money to Ukraine, they should freely do so outside of the Union in an intergovernmental format. This is our proposal. On a voluntary basis, criticism has already been leveled by the President of the Federal Republic of Germany, pointing in the direction of Hungary. They indicated informally their gratitude regarding Hungary's assistance to Ukraine with energy supply. This is not part of the Ukrainian character. That's life. The Hungarian distinction states that in terms of Trump, what is more important from the Trump perspective, or is it somehow different from the European Union? Well, we would like it not to be a choice between the two. That's why it's very important that Bulgaria was also there today. So we were not alone there as members of the European Union. We signed the document for the peace councils as founders, but the Bulgarians were there too. I see that this won't become an either-or situation. So the European Union also believes that if an organization is established in the world that includes the leadership of the richest Arab countries, includes Turkey, includes Egypt, includes Israel, so to be left out of this would be difficult for a group of countries, a union that sees itself as a global player. Those who are not part of it are indeed left out. What is the current stance of European Union countries regarding America as an unpredictable ally or a responsible adversary? Every leader in Europe knows that independence requires strength, and that is no longer available. Thus, Europe is a continent that today cannot defend itself militarily. A continent whose competitiveness is decreasing, a continent that has demographic problems, a continent that is continuously destabilized by people flowing in from other civilizations and cannot get control over this situation. So I think that Europe is simply not in a position to safely contemplate its own future without cooperation with the Americans. So common sense dictates cooperation both for us and the Americans. And now I would like to sleep, if you allow me.